I'm going to call the Monday, June 9th, 2025 regular meeting of the Jersey Shore Area School District Board of School Directors to order. May I have a roll call, please, Mr. Enders?
Mr. Allen.
Present.
Mr. Brungard. Mrs. Calhoun.
Here.
Ms. Edwards. Mr. McDonald.
Here.
Mrs. Peters.
Here.
Thurman.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Semler.
Here.
7 members present, 2 absent.
Thank you. Next, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next we will move on to communications.
I have nothing for communications for this evening.
Okay, under the president's report, we had an executive session prior to tonight's meeting to discuss personnel.
Please also reflect in the minutes, Mr. Enders, that Dr. Osenbob provided the board with their annual Safe Schools report.
I also at this time wanted to just take a few moments to recognize a former school board director who unexpectedly passed away on May 20th, Mr. Wayne Kinley. He served on this board from 2019 to 2023 and chaired the Buildings and Grounds Committee for 2 out of those 4 years. Mr. Kinley was a man of great Christian character. He always conducted himself with integrity and excellence. His financial expertise and his experiential knowledge made him a very valuable asset to this board. I know he poured countless selfless hours of his time into serving in this position. I just wanted to give honor to whom honor is due, and that was Mr. Wayne Kinley. He was a true visionary, a very wise financial advisor, and a most kind and trustworthy friend to many in this district and our community, and he will be greatly missed. If we could just take a few moments, I'm going to call a moment of silence. Thank you. At this time, if any board members would like to speak on his behalf, I did, and I am willing to open it up if anybody wanted to say anything personally on their own.
I would just echo your sentiments that you've already said, and he was a friend of mine, and he will be greatly missed.
Agreed. Okay, we will move on to board committee reports, which I see we have both of our committee people absent this evening. Dr. Almer, are you aware of anything that needs to be?
I will report for Mr. Brungard
Okay.
that Mr. Wall and I did have a meeting that included representatives from the Department of Environmental Protection, our surveyor, and representatives from Mifflin Township to discuss plans for the subdivision of the Salisbury Elementary property. We had to take our discussion back to the county, so I don't have resolution on that until we hear back from the county's perception of our conversation, but we did have a meeting that included multiple agencies in planning that subdivision.
Thank you. There is no student representative here for the summer. We will move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Ulmer.
Attached to tonight's superintendent's report are 3 job descriptions that are newly revised. These are not on here for approval tonight, only for presentation. If you see anything on there that needs to be changed before we vote on them, please let me know. Otherwise, they will be on the next agenda for approval. We have a couple more that are coming in future meetings as I continue to revise job descriptions, but those are the 3 that are on there for tonight's presentation. That's my report.
All right, before I open up courtesy of the floor, I did want to mention that we are making a revision to under personnel letter L, where we are going to approve 1 day as protocol and deny the 2 other days. All right, we will now have courtesy of the floor, and Mr. White, you.
I believe that mine was more appropriate for the second.
Yep, not a problem. All right. Next, we will go to unfinished business. The topic for this evening is class sizes. I will turn this over to Mrs. Thomas.
The last time we were talking about class sizes, and I'm going to continue to pursue that as more information has come out, and we had some questions after the last one. One of the questions was how many IEP students would be in that 2nd grade class, and if there's problems with reading. And we were given the information that there are 7 students coming into that class with IEPs, and that there are 38 students that need intensive reading. We were also given some numbers of students back over the years, and just as a question, has there been any more kindergarten added?
I didn't get this month's report yet, but I will find out and get you that.
Not a big deal because they're within range of things, but. All right, so Mr. Ulmer gave us some enrollments, and he gave us 2 years. He gave us like 2 years for 2016 and 2 reports for 2016 and 2017. One happened in November and one happened in January of 2017. There seems to have been an increase in numbers of students, but that's immaterial for what I want to talk about. In 2016, in November, all K through 5 grade levels had 9 teachers teaching. And in the whole scheme of things, there was only 1 classroom, and that's a 4th grade classroom, that had 25 students. In 2016-17, there were, that was the January of that year, all 5 levels had 9 teachers, and at that point there were 2 classrooms in 4th grade that ended up with 25 students. Then moving on to 2017, first one is in August, which would be prior to actually school starting. There were 4 teachers, 4th grade level that had 9 teachers, which was kindergarten, 2nd, 4th, and 5th. And there were 2 grade levels that had 8 teachers, which was 1st and 3rd. And on that the whole schematic, there was 1 grade level in 1 classroom, I should say, in 5th grade that had 25 teachers. The next one that he gave us, there was January of that year, January 2018, school year 2018. The number of teachers stayed the same, 9 and 8, and at that point in time, there were 2 classrooms that had 25 students and were both 5th grade classrooms. In 2017, 18, 19, again, this was in March of that year. Again, the number of teachers in each classroom stayed the same. And even though that they were different classrooms, there were still 2 classrooms that had 25 students, and they were both listed as 5th grade. 2018-19, in October of 2018, kindergarten and fifth grade had 8 teachers. First grade and third grade had 9 teachers. Second grade had 7, and fourth grade had 6 teachers. And at that point in time, there was only one classroom that had more than 25 teachers, which was 26 teachers, and that was a fifth grade classroom. In 2019-20, in August of that year, kindergarten and second grade had 9 teachers, first grade had 8 teachers, 3, 4, and 5 had 7 teachers, which is where we're working to go to, is the 7 teachers in each grade level. There were 2 classrooms that had 25 students in them, and they were both in 4th grade. And 2019-20, same year in October, we must have had a big kindergarten year, because at that time kindergarten had 10 teachers. First grade had 8, second grade had 9, 3 and 4 had 7, and fifth had 6. There was, in the 4th grade classrooms, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 classrooms that had 25 or 26 kids, and in 5th grade there was 1 classroom that had 25. Now, all of those were pre-COVID, and not that that means anything, just making a statement there. And so when you go back and look at these a little closer, right now in 2nd grade we have 161 kids. And in 2017 and 18, where we had 9 teachers in all of those grade levels, in the 1st grade there was 154 kids, in the kindergarten there was 155, and then the later one, there was kindergarten there was 162, and in 2nd grade there was 153 and 9 teachers. In the 2nd grade alone, because that's the one where I'm talking about, at the beginning in November, the greatest number of kids in 2nd grade was 19, and in January the greatest number of kids were 18. Then 2017 and 18, there were three different papers that he gave us, and they all had 8 teachers, and all of the numbers that are like 151, 145, 151, 148, 150, or 149, they all had 8 teachers. And looking at just the 2nd grade, the maximum number in any second grade classroom for the August count was 21. The maximum number for the January count and the March count was 22. Then in 2018 and 19, numbers that had 164 total had 8 teachers. Numbers that had 167 had 9 teachers. There was one classroom in 2nd grade that had 25 students, and there was then 2 classrooms in 2nd grade that had 23. On 2019-20, we had 162 for kindergarten, had 9 teachers. 157 for 8th grade, had 8 teachers. 160 had 8 teachers. 174 had 9 teachers. And at that year, the highest number in 2nd grade was 21 on both of the sheets. So my comment is, and all of these, very few none in K-3 had more than 25, except one classroom in one of the years. And we have a situation where we have 7 IEP kids coming in and 38 intensive reading students. Now, I understand, this is my perspective. To me, 2nd grade is probably the most important year for the reading skills, to get the kids to make sure they're at grade level. A lot of times they're not there at the beginning. There's just a lot that happens in kindergarten or 1st grade that they don't get there, but they seem to get there by the end. I know these students will have time with the reading specialists, But even when you look at the 5 classrooms at JSE, that'd be over 7 kids in each of those classrooms that have an intensive reading identified right now. And you don't just do reading in reading class. Reading is throughout the whole day. I think for our students to give them that, I'm not saying that the teachers won't work, because I know they'll work. But in all these that he gave us, there was no 25 kids in them. They were all basically 21 or under. Some of them were 19 and even less. I think to give the edge to our students, which is our students are our most valuable part of the school system, and if they're not reading and reading properly on grade level, they're going to be hurt as they get older. And so would like us to consider and take some time to look at this a little further if we have to add a teacher to JSE, making 6 teachers there, and instead of having 25, we would have 21 students as the average, understanding that Avis only has 18 and a half. Somehow we lost the balance. We had balance when we were dealing with the 3 schools, but we lost the balance. But I think that's livable for a year or two because I see that working out. That's my summary and point. Now, I didn't have a chance to write that up. I can write that up and see that you get it, Dr. Omer, that you put it out with Friday's information or not.
Does the board have any questions, any discussion, any comments?
Can you refresh my memory, because I'm digging through papers unsuccessfully to find the AR recommendations for class sizes?
I'll pull it up. Grade 1 and 2 are 17 to 25. Right now, kindergarten is 15 to 20, 1 and 2 is 17 to 25, and 3 to 5 is 22 to 30.
And currently, the one class or the classes at 2nd grade are where? Are they at 25?
Current classes?
The ones that, the reason why Mrs. Thomas is concerned, what is the actual
They would
number?
average 24 and 25.
24 and
next year if we stay at
24.8 for the, or 20.67 if you add another teacher. Remember at Avis, they're only at 18 and a half.
any other questions?
Is the board thinking? Anybody have anything they want to comment on?
How many first grade teachers do we have right now, first grade?
Right now, this year, there are, across the district, the school year we just ended, there were 8. This would go to 7.
I just wondered if, assuming that the IEPs were like the whole year for the first grade, it's moving up into 2nd grade, the class that Mary's talking about. The thought was there a struggle this year with the IEPs and meeting the requirements the students need for, extra time or one-on-one? Was there a struggle? Is there a struggle currently? Is my question.
I would say no. In the conversation I had with the principals, they did not, like, it wasn't a high behavioral need. There were mostly academic needs. They're not getting disrupted because of behaviors in the current first grade.
I just do want to state that I support Mary in asking for either continued conversation or an additional second grade teacher. That is, again, a very critical year. They will be preparing not only for a transition this year into Jersey Shore, but it also shows that the board is willing to work for our children, give them the support that they needed, keep the class sizes low. I know that was a pretty big issue with the community when discussing the closure. And again, the second grade is a very critical year. Next year, third grade, they'll be testing, that sort of thing. Reading is very critical for the rest of their lives. So I support Mary in that regard.
If there's an assumption that the need won't be met, and I agree with what Kayla and Mary are saying, that the kids, of course, the kids are important, that they're, that they're performing correctly or whatever they need to succeed and to move forward at grade level. I would have to know that we're not already doing that we're not already providing what the kids need right now. And I'm not convinced that we're not doing that with what we currently have. So in the future, is this something we could revisit again if we run into issues in the future to hire an aide to, somebody, I'm asking.
The thing is, in JSD, you're dealing with five grade levels, and they're all at that 25, and plus they're all going to have at least 7 kids, and some of them more, that need the intensive reading. So the reading is throughout the whole curriculum, as we're well aware. It's not something that we would add to second grade teacher and they'd be here forever. At the most, the worst that could happen is someone would need to move to third grade, because the same thing, unless we lose kids. We don't know that yet. It's too early to tell that. Move to third grade, and then after that, unless something drastically changed, because kindergarten's not going up, it's actually staying down, that teacher wouldn't be needed anymore. And it's not that we would lose the teacher, there will be teachers retiring, so they'll be absorbed through attrition, just like we have been, like we did this year. And this board is very good about doing that, absorbing through attrition. I just like to see, those teachers haven't worked with 25 in your classroom. None of these years that he gave us, I don't have the last couple of years, but none of these years that he just gave us, most of the time it was, 22 was the maximum, most of the time it was 19 and 18. And he gave you that information last time, but we didn't look at it in that manner. We just looked at that he gave us those papers. And I took some time to look at them, and that's the analysis I came up with. I'd rather give our kids the edge, it's not, and give the teachers the edge too. So if we find out in the middle of the year kids aren't making it, it's a little bit late. And I'm not saying our teachers will do whatever they have to, but that doesn't. There's only a finite amount of time. When you're dealing with 25 teachers and your students and 19 students, okay, you got a little more time for these kids. And I don't know what you didn't give us a reading on the Avis group, so I don't know if there's the same kind of dichotomy with the problem with reading or not. And I do believe that most of these intensive readers, this is the year that they will come out of that. But the more time the teachers have to do, the classroom teacher has to deal with that, I think the better edge we give our students.
I do have numbers here from 23-24. These were April of 24. Looking at second grade, there were 8 teachers across the district for a total of 158 kids, and the max amount of students was 21, and they were actually both in the outlying schools. They weren't at JSC, so JSC class sizes were 19 and 20. So that was with the schooling of the class sizes.
Okay, 2 things. If we hired a teacher, maybe this is a question for Ben, what does that look like? What are we looking at, $100,000 to add to the budget? And what does that look like? And working that out when isn't the final budget on the,
Yeah, your final budget's on the agenda tonight. You would end up taking $100,000 out of your fund balance.
every year?
Unless you, as Mrs. Thomas referenced, lost a teacher through attritional.
Okay, right.
What's
Okay,
currently in our fund balance, Ben? Sorry. Sorry.
About $10 million.
I didn't hear what you asked, Kayla.
She asked what the fund balance was.
I asked.
Oh, okay.
and one more comment. I'm not saying I'm for or against, but kids were moved before to balance class sizes to other schools. And if it was that much of a concern, would it be more cost-effective to spread the kids out to Avis? It's just a thought. I'm not saying, I'm just throwing it out there. That's all I have.
Anybody else?
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, you're welcome. Before we move on, I know that my personal thoughts on the matter is what was stated prior to the last, was what was stated at the previous meeting by Dr. Ulmer. I know the question was asked of you if you felt that there was a need to hire a teacher. I just wanted the board to be reminded that you had said no, you didn't feel that that was necessary. I also remember asking you if there were any issues, just like Sherry had asked, of teachers having problems with too many children and not being able to accomplish and teach well. And you had said you hadn't had one complaint. Is that correct?
I have not, and I think that goes along with what I know we don't agree with, but I agree with what Mrs. Thomas said, was our teachers will do whatever they need to do. And so that's where I struggle is, yes, I think it would be a lot easier to manage 21 versus 25. But I know I've talked to those teachers and some of them said to me, like, it's 1 year. We will make the best of it and do what we need to do. That has been their response to me.
Is it normal to have that many in intensive reading? I don't know I mean, I know it happens every year, but I don't know what those kind of numbers are.
I don't think our numbers are out of line from where they've been in the past.
And will those kids be balanced across the 5 grade levels, or they'll dump them all into 1 or 2 grade?
No, they would be balanced across.
Including the IEP students. I just look at, our kids are worth that. Our kids are worth $100 to give them that edge. I mean, we know they'll do what they have to do, but does it work out in the end, or are we going to lose some by the end of this year? I don't know that. I can't answer that. You can't answer that in any year. But 25 is a lot in 2nd grade, and they haven't had to do it in all these, even though in all these years, the past 5 or 6 years.
And I agree with Dr. Ulmer and with Mary both. And like, if we could add, if it was just one class and we needed to add an aide, like, that would be ideal. But the fact that it's all 5 classes at 25, like, we have 10 kids move in, and that number is now up to 27 in all 5 classes. So I guess, where do we draw the line then at a max? Like, worst case scenario, I mean, I don't know if 10 kids will move in. I don't know if 10 kids will move out. But we're at that line. And it just, then where do we go?
Well, and to answer that question, I mean, 25 is the line. I mean, the AR is 25. You were at 24 and 25. I do have the right of assignment in policy that if kids move in, I can say, I know you're in JSC's attendance area, but there's no room there. You're going to go to Avis. I mean, I have that already in policy. So to answer your question of what if a whole bunch move in, That would be the answer.
So right now, if we added another class, would you actually physically have the room to put them in at JSASD?
Yes.
So what would the board like to do moving forward? You want to continue to discuss at the next meeting? Is there a consensus that you don't feel that there's any more need for discussion?
Well, I think people need to digest what they were told tonight. They didn't have that, I mean, they had the information, but I'm sure they didn't look at it that way.
There's also 2 missing board members, so.
Well, I can definitely hold off if that's what you're asking. We can further discuss it at the next meeting if that's the consensus of the board. I actually need people to respond with yeses or
say-
nos.
Let's mull it over, discuss it next board, and make a decision.
Okay.
Yeah,
I would just like to see, I'm sorry, I didn't
Go
mean to
ahead.
step on you there.
I was just gonna say the other two will be here then.
I would just like to see, maybe from Dr. Almer, what all options we have. Like, we spoke of some different things here tonight, AVIS, AIDS, you know, whatever. I don't know if they're good options or not, but I'd like to see something that, say, here's an option, here's an option, here's an option, and kind of go from there.
Okay.
I would like to see
No, I think I got, I think I got the gist of it, so,
Okay.
all right, thank you. Does anybody have anything further before I move on that they want to comment under class size? All right. We will move on to personnel. Items to approve, A through S. May I have a motion, please?
Motion?
Second.
Any questions or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. There's nothing under curriculum and instruction, nor under buildings and grounds. We will move on to finance. Items to approve. Thank you. Letters A through R, with C and D being a roll call. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or concerns?
I'll give the board a brief overview on the budget. Your real estate tax rates, letter C, they are at rebalanced rates. Clinton County has not changed. That's at 14.0613. That's an increase of 0.0549 mils. The Cumming County is 18.6576. That's a decrease of 0.0602 mils. Final budget, letter D. The budget currently sits at a deficit as presented this evening for approval of $356,348.73. The deficit, once the 4 positions are realized, how we've been presenting it to you all through the spring, is $140,832. And finally, letter E, the homestead farmstead resolution. Both counties are approximately right around $415. That's about a $45 increase over what it was last year.
Thank you, Mr. Enders. Does anybody have any questions?
So with that increase, Ben, that basically balance out that little bit of difference in Clinton County, or no?
So the break-even point in Clinton County is, for the break-even assessed value in Clinton County is $701,100. So any assessed value below that number will have a decrease. Any assessed value above that number will have an increase.
Thank you.
Yep.
I want to make sure that the community heard that correctly. So unless your property is worth more than $701,000, your tax bill will not go up. I want to make sure everybody heard that.
That's
If you
Clinton
fall
County,
under
right?
homestead, farmstead.
If you fall under homestead, farmstead, yes. Lycoming County will not go up.
Any other questions?
Ben, what was that number that you gave for letter D, the second number? You
The
rattled off.
realized, the deficit, once the position is realized, is 140,000.
Any other questions? All right. And first take a vote on A and B and E through R. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. We'll now have a roll call vote for letter C.
Letter what?
Letter C.
So we're gonna vote on the taxes before the budget. Okay.
Well, I just went in order. Would you rather me do D? I could. We'll do letter C whenever you're ready, Mr. Enders.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Calhoun,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Emily.
Yes.
Passes.
Next, we will have a roll call for letter D.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Calhoun,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Mr. Herman,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Emily.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Next, we will move on to miscellaneous items to approve, A through J. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or concerns?
Basically, Dr. Ulmer, letter I, are those all coming from Avis or a combination of places? Did you take the best or the worst?
We did do some shuffling. For example, the cafeteria tables are from Avis because the ones at Sal were moved to Avis. So anywhere there was equipment that was in better shape at Sal than somewhere else, it was swapped, and then we will decommission the equipment that we're not going to use. So yes, to answer your question.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Next, we will have courtesy of the floor. I know that Mr. White, you had signed up. If you'd like to go first, you're more than welcome. You
Not
can-
sure I need the microphone, but I'll do it for the
you
sake of those online.
If you can state your name and your address, and then you will have
Absolutely.
3 minutes, please.
Yep, so my name is Jason White. I'm the staff representative for the custodial and maintenance workers in Jersey Shore Area School District. I live here in Jersey Shore. I'm a taxpayer, and a community member. I'm here today to demand respect and dignity for the jobs we do in this district. The dignity and respect of a livable wage. Over half of the staff that I represent qualify for SNAP benefits for a household of 2. The rest qualify for a family of 3. These are hardworking employees who have picked up the slack when they were short-staffed. These are skilled tradesmen who could easily make twice their pay in the private sector. I heard tonight the proposal to add a teacher at $100,000. My initial proposal to this board would have cost $100,000 for all 18 of the
Mr. White, we're not going to be discussing the actual contents of the contract here in public.
We're not discussing the contents of the contract. These are family providers who ask for the dignity of working to provide. We ask that when you come back to the bargaining table, that you keep this in mind and make a fair offer. We ask for an offer that shows the respect and the dignity that these folks have earned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White.
Good evening, Board. Bob Pryor, Mifflin Township. Being on the board for 8 years, a few administrations ago, president for 2 years, vice president for, I believe, 4 years, I got to know quite a few people in the district. And I must say, these individuals here are some of the hardest working people I've ever known. Not personally, but the people that were then, at the time, the maintenance workers, because they're on call. When we get a bad storm, they're there. You know, they risk their lives getting to work to make it safer for everybody else. And they can always be called upon, and I respect them highly. I did then, and I always will. So I don't think their request is unreasonable at this time. Thank you, and also thank you for recognizing Wayne Kinley. He's a personal friend, and we miss him. He's a good guy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pryor. All right. I'm going to close courtesy of the floor, and we're going to adjourn the meeting where we will be having an executive session to discuss personnel, but we will not be conducting any business.